Welcome to Talking Points. I'm Esme Murphy. Most of us at some time in our lives have muttered the words, "This job sucks," under our breath, whether it's temporary frustration or perhaps something deeper, more fundamental. This year, those words were issued by an assistant U.S. attorney in federal court in Minneapolis who said, "The system sucks, this job sucks," to a federal judge, and then added she would welcome being held in contempt of court because she could at least get a good night's sleep in jail. The attorney was Julie Lay. She was explaining to the judge she was overwhelmed handling almost 90 immigration cases and that the rest of her colleagues were overwhelmed as well. Ms. Lay is no longer with the U.S. Attorney's Office, and last month she announced she was running for office in the Democratic primary against Congresswoman Ilhan Omar. It's a remarkable story and one we are so glad that Julie Lay is here to share with us. Thank you so much.
Thank you for giving me this opportunity to share my story.
Well, your story is fascinating, and we'll start with you. You came to this country in the early 90s as an immigrant.
Yes, I came in February 23rd of 1993 as a refugee. My entire family came to the U.S. and then we ended up landed in California and then moved to Iowa. And I have lived in Iowa, Des Moines, Iowa, for about 20-something years before I moved to Minnesota.
Okay. So fast forward, you were an attorney for ICE, and they needed help in the U.S. Attorney's Office because there were so many immigration cases in Operation Metro Surge. You volunteered and said you would help.
Yes, I am the type of person that if there's a need, I want to feel that need. That's a quote I get from the robot movies by watching with my kids. So, I'd like to be a useful person as much as I can.
Well, you certainly were a useful person because the numbers at the U.S. Attorney's Office were down dramatically. They had more than 60 at one point, in January of 2025. Then they were down to 40-something in October, and now they were in the 30s when you came along. What was the caseload like that you got working as an immigration attorney for the U.S. Attorney's Office in the middle of Operation Metro Surge?
It was, the word overwhelming is an understatement. It was just so hectic and crazy that you can work 24/7 and you still cannot keep up with the work.
You told me that you had 88 cases. How does that compare to the caseload of the whole office the year before?
As I understood how the statistic that they provided, the year before, the U.S. Attorney Office, for the entire office, they have about 77 habeas cases for the entire office. I myself, during that 1 month with the U.S. Attorney Office, have about 88 cases tied to my name.
You alone, 88. The whole office, which at that point had more than 60 attorneys, less than that.
Yes.
Incredible. All right. Everybody has kind of heard about what you said to the judge. Can you just kind of go over that day and explain what you were trying to do? Because it did get a lot of attention, and a lot of people think that it actually affected change.
Well, the intention on that day was my intention to go in court on that day to explain to the judge, I worked really hard on these cases. Every single case is passed, across my desk. I gave it 100% attention. I will follow the order, and I will send, the request. I will ask for the assistant to get these people released, to get the documents.
For your 88 cases?
For the cases that held under my name. And, but it was so frustrated because back at home, I call ICE was my original, regional place where I came from. When I called back home to the ICE attorneys, like, I need you guys help, to locate these documents or to change the document to release this person with no condition. But they always come back and said, no, that's what we're gonna do. I was like, this is the court order, the federal court order, and we have to abide by the court. They would not buy into it. They would not. It was very frustrated because it doesn't matter how hard you try. I work so many hours. I have to say more than 90 up to 100 hours a week just trying to get this thing done.
Is that when you finally told the judge the system sucks, this job sucks?
When the judge questioned my integrity, why I'm not doing the job, I kind of, my core values, it's the hardest working attorney that you could find, and I uphold the highest integrity for my job, my job. And when you tell me that I'm not doing my job, it broke me into pieces. And that's when I said, this job sucks, because as hard as I work, I couldn't get anywhere.
Let me ask you, as a prosecutor, you are an officer of the court, but you are still honoring the rights of those that are accused. How did you feel the U.S. Attorney's Office, or the United States in general, Justice Department, was dealing with these people who were accused? Were they getting their fair justice system?
I have to be honest with you, there's no such due process that I could see during the time that I was there, because I don't have any defense for any of that when the judge asked me those questions. And my thing is very clear. As an attorney, you have to be truthful to the court.
Right.
You have to uphold the law, and the law applies to everyone, including attorneys, whether you are the plaintiff attorneys or the government attorneys. Okay. And I hold that very highly in my heart.
Well, after that outburst in court, you were suddenly no longer with the U.S. Attorney's Office, we'll put it that way, and you ended up leaving ICE.
Yes.
And then you decided you were going to run for political office. What went through your head? What got you to run for political office?
At that time, I have two different venues that I could go. I have a few job offers to go back and to work as a worker compensation attorney, what I used to do. Or I have this crazy idea, like, there's someone keep calling me, Julie, you got to do something about this. I took a month. I asked for prayers. I asked people to pray for me. I took a month to think about the potential running. And I feel strongly that this is my duty as someone who benefits so much in this society in the United States. I came here with nothing. Okay, I am now blessed with an attorney license, with all these education and experience, and it is now my time to give back. Okay.
Well, you're going to be running against Congresswoman Ilhan Omar, who won her last election. I think she won by almost 50 points. She also has $1.1 million in the bank cash now. I know that I looked you up. You don't have anything in the bank right now for your campaign. But Congresswoman Ilhan Omar has certainly been very critical of the Justice Department and the handling of this immigration surge. But you say there's a difference between you and the Congresswoman in terms of this whole issue.
Yes, there's a difference between the two of us. She's wanted to abolish ICE.
She wants to abolish ICE.
Yes, I want to have a comprehensive immigration reform. We have a system in place. The system has been working. It's not a perfect system, but it was working. We have deported, statistically, we have deported more people in the past administration than the current administration, without people dying in prison or being, dragged out from their house or their cars, like what we have been seeing in the last couple of months. So there are some things that we need to discuss, sit down on both sides of the aisle to discuss the difference, and come to a common ground. There's things that we have to give, the things that we want to come out from that immigration reforms. And as an attorney who works on both sides of the aisles, I know a lot of attorneys who has 30 years, 40 years with immigration experience. I can easily bring them to the table and have a discussions, heart-to-heart discussion to see what would benefit for the majority of the people here in the United States. And I believe that's what we need to do.
Well, obviously, we're all going to be following your campaign. Let me just ask you one question. From what you know of what's going on at the U.S. Attorney's Office and in immigration courts right now, has it gotten better than it was at the height of January when it was Operation Metro Surge?
Yes, it has gotten better. ICE now are calling around to locate, the stuff like the wallet, the ID, the passport of the individual, so that they can return that.
That was the problem. These people didn't have their driver's license because they were seized when they were arrested, and then those driver's licenses disappeared. I mean, it was
because it was disorganized. It was really unorganized. This one individual have this thought about they want to arrest 3,000 people per day, and that's what their quota is. Wow. Without thinking of the next step. What do you do with all that's belonging? What do you do if the judge orders someone to be released? They have nothing in place at the beginning. But now with everything and the contempt hearings, I think it has helped
Yeah.
It's still not perfect, but it's moving a little bit smoother going forward.
Well, a lot of people give you credit for speaking up that day and for helping change things.
For what it's worth, I am the person that I choose to speak the truth. I can choose to just ignore it like anyone else. But I always teach my kids that the truth matters. That's how you should be living, with the truth. And whether it works your ways or not, you always feel better when you have to go to sleep. Your eyes are still, you have a rest, really well rest nights instead of, what the potential of the white lies that I created.
Well, Julie Lay, thank you so much for your time and for coming here. And we obviously are going to be following your campaign as the months go on. Primary is in August. We appreciate your coming in.
Thank you so much. Thank you for this opportunity.
Well, that does it for this edition of Talking Points. As always, please email me with comments and suggestions at esme@cbs.com. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Esme Murphy, WCCO News.